the spy that was a clip artist. Admiral James Richardson, a commander of a U.S. fleet, was not a happy man. In April 1940, he has taken his warships and carriers from their permanent base in San Diego, California, 3,000 miles west to the Hawaiian waters. At this collusion maneuver, on May 10th, he expected the California President D. Roosevelt, however, in order to remain in Pearl Harbor. Richardson was strongly opposed to the regiment. Tensions had been running high between Japan and United States in the Pacific, and the fleet commander was fearful that some fantasy will be advised for U.S. officers in change. On a submarine or a ship might attack on his own, based in the West Coast. Admiral Hornsey, Bill T. Stark, and Stanley Whitehair, Chief of Naval Operations in Washington, told Richmond to move all of his stuff and to deter Japan to the New Indies, Eastern Asia, which included India, Albania, Thailand, and Indonesia, the Philippines, and also the islands of Mongolia. In Tokyo, the warlords who held Japan saw the U.S. fleet as a direct naval intelligence for their conquest of Asia. So they thought of a plan to attack Pearl Harbor. Smartly, sophistically, and ambitiously, Ombra plugged in his side mission. It was ideally located. The Japanese consul was just 7 miles away from the mission. He identified the location. The Japanese Constitution was only 7 miles from Pearl Harbor. Soon, he'd be sending Tokyo a stream of highly delected accounts. Amazingly, foreign officers, naval intelligence, without peer and superior technology, no background in naval lore, the U.S. fleet is providing precious names, descriptions of the warships and aircraft carriers, along with the date, naval, arrival, departure, and the names, the skippers, and the license. The wealth of high-grade intelligence was classified to top secret in Tokyo, but officials in Foreign Office and Naval Intelligence did not know what Okinawa was collecting without leaving his office. Armed with a pair of sharp scissors and Constitute, scrambled these new papers to Honolulu, which is the commanding base of Hawaii. They have informed Tokyo, where he was held at a spontaneous. Next chapter. Back in Europe, Denmark patriot burglary. During the early spring 1940, Hitler's army of 2.5 million men had assigned on the French border for the last 7 months, waiting for a sign of launch case yellow, the invasion of France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. The offensive should be 90 minutes of facetious reasons. Suddenly, on April 9th, the Fuhrer diverted his attention from France and the Low Countries to Norwegian and the tiny, defenseless Denmark in a single day. In the period of time, the Germans allowed the Danish to manage their under-affairs protection of the Third Reich. But the Danes, proud people, secretly against the conquerors, self-promoted the priest and acted against the humored underground cells formed by the priest. A German captain was beaten to death in Oslo A German troop was trained to explode the Anza, and Danish naval officers scuttled the little ships in Copenhagen harbor. The truck was filled with that, and the few gray, the average German soldier, plunged into the embassy at the night, the bridge, dismantling secretly. The rage of the German people. The German people wants revenge. In August 1943, Kingsley X, the symbol of the Danish resistance, country citizens, was arrested and placed under military guard for not being loyal to the Nazis. Danish chief of police, who was out of town with his family on brief vacation, was reported to be a traitor and gone to Britain, which is also not true. He was executed. So some Wehrmacht in the size of Denmark and the hum of the countrymen, 18 brass German officers, collaborated with fineless traitors of Germans in the war. Members of the Danish underground plotting to kill the turncoat of Folkestone and many of Ireland's wake up in Denmark. Not everything was read and almost succeed, but it was coming to plan, and it was a good one. They would launch a surprise attack on the underground forces in Denmark. 200,000 Wehrmacht units started the operation. Details of the German plans. There have been more speculation on identity of Cinder, but then the information of the notes have been provided is accurate. The last message said, "I will be in the factory midnight 2 days from now. I will be in German uniform and I will open the lock gates." Unlike previous messages, this was signed by HP. That means it's the resistant leaders, was Hans Pearson. The coughing of German, to be trusted, was the intensified, but it was never shown ever again. At midnight, the underground struck, the plan sincerely silent. Minutes later, Pearson was wearing a German uniform, arrived. The resistance tensely gripped on their weapon. Any moment now, they could fire in the shadow. Speaking in horror, the burglar said, "If anything happens to me, I want my name to be clear." He's been sent and locked for the last 2 months. Minutes later, 1 or 2 parts of the sneaked into the building. Boom! Then another boom. There was another explosion lighting up the sky piece of the factory. Hans masturbate as the German sympathizer had not been come out. 24 hours later, the resistant members have gathered the brief memorial for the burglary that sacrificed his life for the country.